In the heart of the city's sprawling urban expanse, Alex Carter sat alone in his dimly lit apartment. The faint hum of traffic seeped through the cracked window, mingling with the muted glow of the neon signs outside. Inside, the air was stale, tinged with the smell of burnt coffee and old newspapers strewn across the small dining table. He stared at his aging laptop, its screen casting a ghostly glow in the cramped room. The message had come unexpectedly, a string of codes blinking insistently in his inbox. It spoke of shadowy dealings and global manipulation, orchestrated from the highest echelons of government by a figure known as the Director of Surveillance, Celine Moore. Initially dismissed as an elaborate hoax, something in the cryptic patterns and the mention of a truth initiative gnawed at him. "This can't be real," Alex muttered under his breath, running a hand through his crumbly, unkempt hair. His reflection in the blackened monitor was a ghost of who he'd been, a man content with mediocrity. Leaning back in his chair, Alex closed his eyes, trying to dismiss the insistent tug of curiosity tapping at his conscience. The room was filled with shadows, as if the very walls whispered the secrets he teetered on unraveling. He shook his head, forcing himself to dismiss it yet feeling his resolve falter. It was absurd. He was no rebel. Yet, the thought of a truth initiative, an undercurrent seeking to dismantle Moore's oppressive surveillance regime, had latched onto him. Memories of a past life, a time when he cared enough to fight for a better world, stirred within him. A recollection tugged at his mind, the sound of his sister's voice, before she disappeared among faceless citizens absorbed by the omnipresent watchers. The thought rekindled a forgotten fire within his chest. The decision was not made in one moment but spanned across hours, a slow, determined crescendo. Rising from the tangled mess of the room, he shifted toward his laptop, eyes narrowing at the codes waiting to be decrypted. "All right, you have my attention," he whispered to the pixelated text, a promise forged in the dim silence of the dawn. With every keystroke, Alex chipped away at the digital fortress surrounding the message. The apartment's oppressive quiet became his cocoon, filled with the rhythmic clatter of keys and the soft whirring of the computer's outdated fan. This was a world he understood, a battlefield of ones and zeros where intellect trumped brute force. But the comfort of code was shattered by the buzzing whir of surveillance drones passing overhead, the oppressive eyes of the state. The faint blue glow of their sensors swept through the alley outside, mingling with the neon that reflected off the rain-slicked pavement. "Gotta move," Alex muttered, shoving the laptop into his backpack. He'd crafted a crude signal jammer from various odds and ends, a relic of his obsession with the pre-digital era, and now it would be tested. Sliding out the door, he slipped into the night, avoiding pools of light like a seasoned shadow. The alleyways twisted, a neon labyrinth alive with distant chatter and the hiss of steam vents. Above, drones swooped close, their whirring blades a mechanical chorus that set his nerves on edge. "Hey, you!" A voice called out, crackling through the drone's audio system, distorted yet commanding. Without looking back, Alex sprinted. Heart hammering, lungs burning, he wove through the maze of urban decay. Sounds of pursuit echoed behind, footsteps splashing through puddles, metallic clanks of drone parts colliding with abandoned scaffolds. "Damn it, they're getting faster," he gasped, darting into a narrow passage barely wide enough for him. The pounding footsteps grew louder, a cacophony of imminent capture. For a moment, panic clawed through his focus, threatening to unravel his carefully laid plans. But then, clarity struck, a neglected manhole hidden beneath slick grime. Dropping to his knees, he pried it open with desperate strength, slipping inside as the drone's light zinged past overhead. Below, the darkness engulfed him with a cool, damp embrace, shutting out pursuit. With trembling fingers, Alex activated the jammer, scrambling signals and blurring their trace. He pressed his back against the tunnel wall, pulse still racing, tasting the bitter tang of adrenaline and city smog in the stale air. Not today, he sighed softly, feet splashing carefully through the sewage tributaries, determination renewed by the game of cat and mouse. He was still in it, and the night, though treacherous, had awarded him its refuge. A darkened basement, buried beneath the city's belly, buzzed with whispered suspicions and palpable distrust. Alex hesitated on the threshold, eyes adjusting to the dim light filtering through layers of clandestine association, smoke, and idle murmurs. Here gathered an eclectic mix of individuals, the rebels, shadows lurking to defy the omnipotent gaze of the state. Faces were obscured by scarves and hoods, anonymity prized above all. Against the backdrop of flickering candlelight, the rebel's eyes gleamed with a mixture of hope and wariness. "He shouldn't be here," a voice cut through, sharp with authority. A woman stepped forward, auburn hair tied back with a frayed band. Her stance implied command and her eyes bored into Alex with judicious intensity. "I'm here because I received this," Alex said, brandishing a printed sheet of decoded messages interlaced with symbols of the Truth Initiative. The room fell quiet, save for the dull thrum of an old boiler in the corner. Eyes flicked from the message to Alex, weighing sincerity against the stake of exposure. Another voice broke through, gravelly with age. "And what's to say you're not a plant?" Could easily be from Moore's Lot. Alex met the speaker's eyes, an old man draped in a patchwork of worn cloaks. "I could be, but then why risk bringing you this?" He gestured toward the symbols drawn in haste. A ripple of uncertainty passed across the room, leaving a trail of tense silence. Alex took a breath, feeling the weight of his decision press down. "I need to know the truth. And I think we want the same thing." The auburn-haired woman crossed her arms, thoughtful, stepping closer. The scent of gunpowder and sweat mingled in the confined space, pressing against Alex's resolve. "You got one chance," she murmured finally, breaking the silence. "Speak." As Alex recounted his encounter with the code, the suspicion ebbed into a shared purpose. The rebels leaned in closer, drawn by the unveiling of layers of conspiracy, mind control, manipulation far beyond mere surveillance. "If Moore's pulling those strings," Alex concluded, voice steady, "we have to pull them apart. From inside this web she's spun." His words hung in the air, sparking with challenge and igniting mutual determination amid the gathered conspirators. In their exchanged glances, distrust was not forgotten but pushed aside, a tentative consensus formed within the dim confines of rebellion. The facility loomed starkly under halogen lights, a fortress of steel and circuits aligned against those who dared question its authority. Alex and a small band of rebels moved stealthily through the labyrinthine corridors, their breaths soft and measured against the persistent electric hum all around. Ahead, the walls gleamed with screens divulging streams of real-time data, a testament to the technological prowess and iron grip held by Celine Moore's regime. "We're close," Alex whispered, his eyes never lingering too long on one screen lest they trigger recognition algorithms. Beside him, the auburn-haired woman kept pace, her gaze flicking between their path and the schematic Alex had mapped to memory. "We take down the firewall, we can access the core systems," she instructed, voice low but decisive. But as they reached a junction, their plan unraveled. Blaring alarms erupted around them, drowning the rebels in a cacophony of shrieks and blinding red emergency lights. An ambush, Moore's enforcers had engineered this snare with ruthless precision. "Fall back," Alex shouted over the din as armed figures emerged, silhouetted against the glare. The rebels scattered, each to their assigned protocol to evade, distract, regroup. Alex's heart pounded as chaos reigned around him, the taste of smoke and burnt wires assaulting his senses. In a blur, lives were extinguished before his eyes, the old man from the basement, a younger woman whose name he had not yet learned, all rendered into shadows. Fury mingled with grief, a force uncontrollable and raw, hammering at the core of his resolve. Alex crouched beside the fallen, clenching his fists against the encroaching despair. But the auburn-haired woman grasped his shoulder firmly, forcing him to meet her gaze. "We move," she insisted, her tone unfaltering. "They're gone," he said, voice breaking against the harsh reality of their mission's cost. "But we're not," she replied sharply, urgency blazing in her eyes. "They gave us a gap, we gotta use it." Every muscle in his body protested, but the ember of his quest for truth and honest justice ignited. Rising, Alex nodded, teeth gritted in resolution. The facility swirled around them, but they cut through the turmoil, driven by a new understanding etched in survivors' grief. This wasn't just about uncovering one conspiracy, it was about acknowledging and accepting the fallout of their decisions. This was war with its price in blood, burdening Alex with suffocating resolve to lead those who remained against the gears of overwhelmed oppression. The surveillance hub stood as a bastion of technological supremacy, nested deep within the industrial heart of the city. Its towering walls pulsed with the rhythm of data streams, crimson and cobalt veins interwoven beneath the facility's skin. Alex and his allies lurked in the shadows, calibrated for their definitive assault. Every moment tallied the echoes of life and sacrifice hoisted upon Alex's shoulders. With a nod, they moved, cloak of darkness melding with the structure's metallic sheen. Inside, the ambient hum roared like a tidal wave, the oppressive weight of Moore's calculated omniscience pressed down. Yet determination honed Alex's senses to razor sharpness. He gestured silently, directing the rebels to sever the minor nodes, ripples to disrupt the central pulse. But the main stage awaited. Across the nerve center glided Celine Moore, her eyes fixed on a multitude of screens termed her kingdom, fingers flicking at virtual commands. "Predict this," Alex muttered before charging into the light. Moore turned, calculating yet serene. "Did you enjoy the game, Alex?" she queried, her voice amplified through the facility. "I've watched you struggle, cherished every little triumph you thought was yours." He stopped, adrenaline coursing through him, heart a defiant drum. "Your game's rigged," he snapped, tension crafting steel in his words. Moore gestured to the display encircling them. "But my dear Alex, intelligence is the pinnacle of order. You won because I allowed you a glimmer." Their standoff electrified the room, every rebel breath caught in the unyielding orbit of opposites. Alex saw it then, a vulnerability, a reliance so deep it had bred upon the fruit of predictability and lost amidst it, the virtue of adaptability. "Machines are imperfect," he volleyed, forcing Moore to pause. "Their strength's also their crutch, they can't anticipate what we can become." With that, Alex executed a series of unpredictable code inflections, set to churn fault lines beneath Moore's dominion. The screen shimmered with cascading errors, unforeseen as rebellion twisted into mathematical rebellion. Moore parted her lips to counter, but Alex had already attained his strike. "Your empire crumbles, Celine." Confidence surged, Alex seeing the shift unspool in digital incomprehension. The room detonated with the computation of failure, Moore staring as fractures expanded across her empire's facade. A silent moment, and then she whispered, "Well played, Alex." Around them, technology slipped from Moore's grasp, the authority she'd vested crumbling to dust, leaving only Alex and the rebels amidst collapsing circuits and newfound recognition of a victory shaped not just by might but by understanding. The surveillance hub's collapse resonated through the city, an awakening rippling from its core like concentric waves disturbing a placid pond. Post-defeat, the heart of tyranny lay exposed, and Alex had his hands around its pulse. Stepping through the debris, Alex found the central server shielded yet intact amid the falling shadows of fallen screens. The room carried the scent of burnt circuitry and sterile sweetness of severed power. With deliberate precision, he accessed and extracted streams of critical data, proof of governance manipulation tethered tightly within Moore's machinations. The enormity of truth settled over him, a weight neither oppressive nor triumphant but necessary. As the city reeled in confusion, Alex proceeded to transform the surveillance network into a beacon, flipping its function from overseer to liberator. His fingers darted across cracked keys, a concerted symphony poised to crescendo. Silence, then the sudden breach as the broadcast roared alive, revelations spilling into public consciousness like long-suppressed breaths. Truth fractured the calm with shock and burgeoning fervor. The city burst forth, no longer mere spectators, their outcry a storm of disbelief and transformative possibility. Streets filled with the rhythm of feet, a human tide swelling through avenues, chants rising to the open sky, challenging years of suppression. Among them, Alex emerged, marked by the fractious history of their shared trial. His gaze swept the convergence, faces mingling hope with unresolved anger. "We have seen the truth," he began, voice cutting through like a clarion call. "We've exposed the chains claiming invincibility. It's our moment to redefine our existence, not with vengeance but vigilance, not under shadows but together, in light." His words echoed a unity born of suffering and vision, igniting a resolve within the crowd. They pressed forward, affirmation in their affirmation, a populace pivoting from engineered silence to immediate, palpable reclamation. Amidst the riotous, renewed life coursing beyond the alleys, Alex questioned silently where the balance of this story lay, whether each soul would find freedom one fragile step at a time under this new dawn. Questions marked them but remained unanswered, a shifting kaleidoscope of civic rebirth as Alex found his voice sought leadership, stoking those fires well beyond unveiled truth into this seismic reformation of all they dared now imagine. The sun crested over the skyline, dissipating shadows that had long clung to the city, revealing a tapestry of renewal woven from the night's upheaval. The air hummed with latent possibilities, perfumed by the hope of dawn mingling with the ghost of smoke. Alex walked among the crowd, feeling the pulse of life beating stronger, the warmth of their newfound resolve tangible against the cool morning breeze. Around him, faces bore the marks of exhaustion yet shone with a resilient gleam. "Did we really pull it off?" came the voice of the auburn-haired rebel, her eyes shadowed with disbelief and pride. Alex nodded, though the shadows of what had been accomplished coiled within him, neither erasing loss nor unmet futures but standing etched alongside the victory. Throughout the city, the dismantling of surveillance structures mirrored a community determined to assert its stolen ideals. Static towers that once loomed oppressive now littered streets, reduced to rubble, overtaken by the people's advance. Among the departing rebels, Alex paused, witnessing the indelible print their actions etched upon the canvas of collective being. Each face, touched by purpose, mirrored his silent journey back across victory's trials. But clarity, as fleeting as moments, granted Alex recognition, not an end, but merely the tributary merging with more significant urgent waters. "I wish she were here," he murmured, image of his sister a constant companion in absence, a memory shaping his resolve. Yet beneath his feet lay unburdened earth, dawn releasing it from the night's contractual grip. The city, unshackled, felt promisingly fragile yet inexorably bound by the threads of what must be crafted anew. "Where do you go from here?" the auburn-haired ally queried, curiosity woven through shared experiences. Alex's gaze swept across the horizon, encapsulating more than merely this city. His answer emerged, carried by surety. Elsewhere, wherever shadows linger, their web to unravel. It isn't just us, it can't be, there are others. The words harbored a commitment beyond borders, a silent vehemence swearing to those still captive. Standing amidst their reclaimed lives, Alex felt the chapters both concluded and inaugurated, woven into his name's permanent fabric. The morning sun gilded the city's sharp edges with a sincerity belonging to freedom, witnessed over weary shoulders with whispered promises. As Alex turned to depart, his heart buoyed by hope's selfless weight, the echoes of new missions whispered, and the truth in its light echoed across boundaries to be safeguarded beyond this singular place.